Welcome to the Killing Podcast, Season 3, Episode 6, Eminent Domain. We're your hosts, Martha Southgate.
And I'm Rob Southgate. You know, I'm so glad you said that about what episode and everything, because my notes are wrong.
Why?
I put on Season 2, number 1, I put 2. It's episode Season 3, but I put Episode 5. We've had a little confusion in this house. The reason I put Episode 5 is because of how Netflix has the show on. Netflix took the first 2 episodes and made them one.
Okay.
So on Netflix, it says Episode 1, Episode 2, Episode 3. So this one is Episode 5 according to Netflix, but according to the show order, it is Episode 6. Now I'm on track.
Well, we're probably off then on all our other podcasts.
No, we've been actually right, because I've been looking at my notes, and we're right. It's just this one, when you said 6, I looked at mine and went, why does it say 6? All my other notes are correct, because we did the first 2 as 2 episodes.
Okay.
So, there you go, a little behind the scenes of the Killing Podcast.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Exciting.
Oh, it's so exciting. What a thrilling podcast we put on.
Yes.
All right, shall we just jump right in? What did you think of this episode? Let's start there.
I really liked it, but there were really great lines in it, first of all. But the very Holder heavy, the lines are awesome. I mean, he's my favorite. But I was really surprised at, I normally take about five or so pages of notes.
Uh-huh.
And this one I took a solid 4, and I've never taken so few notes.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
But they're packed.
But they're meaty. I mean, I'm surprised
episode.
too, because as I'm going through my notes, I'm realizing how much happens in this episode.
But so that was kind of surprising to me when I went to look at how many pages I had. It was only 4, so kind of interesting. So we've got Callie's mom. She comes into the police station, and she's wet and frantic.
Oh,
and
my gosh. Well, of course, she's in Seattle, so it's wet.
Yeah.
She's soaking.
Although this season, we haven't had quite as much of the dramatic rain.
No, but she's completely upset, and she's yelling that, Joe has her daughter.
Well, she's telling him about Joe Mills.
Right.
And the cop at the front desk is just heinous.
Yeah, not helpful at all. He reminds me of that awful woman at the motel. Just completely unhelpful, kind of a jerk.
Yeah. She had a lot she was hiding, though. This guy's just...
Right, this guy's just a jerk.
He just doesn't want to deal with it.
Well, he's a cop that got demoted down to front desk. You're going to do that. You can't even go out and write tickets. That's where you're at, dude.
Okay. You've probably just offended 50 million people who
do
that for a living.
50 million cops working the front precinct. You know what? I'm taking a guess.
I think
But I'm assuming this guy is upset by that.
I'm just thinking he just doesn't... He's just used to probably getting a lot of people who are frantic and kind of give him the runaround. And,
so he just doesn't even want to deal with it.
Even though this one is
Why
legitimate.
would you say that about him and not writing tickets? Why?
Yeah,
Why?
You're the one saying that anyone who's working at the front desk of a precinct has been demoted and is angry and ashamed.
I just made an assumption. And you know what happens when you make an assumption?
Yeah, you make an ass out of yourself.
Exactly. Not anybody but myself every time.
So they restrain her because
she throws a huge fit.
Well, because then they are,
right, and now
really
they have to arrest her.
Yeah.
And as they're arresting her, she just keeps yelling out for Sarah, which I wish Sarah had been there, because she could have at least talked to her and figured out what's going on here.
Yeah. And I wish her name was Stella, because then she'd be going, Stella!
Instead of Sarah.
Like
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
All right, you and I get the reference. I don't think anyone else.
I think other people get the reference. So Holder and Lyndon are at the hospital. I put big saddy faces here because this was a very somber scene. They're with Angie. We find out her name is.
The victim that was at the vet.
Right. The girl that was hit by the car that was at the vet, and they sewed her neck up, and she's now in the hospital. It was a very somber scene.
And she's talking about what happened, who had her in the car.
Right.
And she said he wanted to talk. He said he would save me.
Yeah.
That I would finally see.
Right. And she also talked about how she was sitting in the back seat and she was sitting on plastic.
Yeah, that's
reminded
so
me
scary.
of Dexter a little bit.
Yeah. Well, and this scene really was was hard because Lyndon's the only, Holder was the only one left in the room with her. Like, they're all leaving.
Right.
And she looks at him and says, he got the left one.
Yes.
If someone wants to marry me, do you think it matters?
Oh,
I just ached for her.
Oh, I felt so bad for her.
And Lyndon's just off her nut in this. Like,
she's pushing hard. I think that she's trying to get whatever she can out of this girl so she can get out there and get Callie and catch this guy and save Seward.
Grilling him.
Yeah, but she's bad cop in this scene. For sure.
And then she's wanting a sketch artist there for when she wakes up in the morning.
Well, and before that, before she's talking about that, she has mugshots that she shows her.
Yeah.
And Angie doesn't recognize anybody, and Sarah's getting really pushy about it, and she finally says, all I could see were his eyes.
Right.
When he was looking in the mirror. That's it. And then when he came back, it was all dark, and that's when she got away. I mean, it's just...
Yeah.
Sarah's not being very compassionate.
No. Oh, gosh, no. No, not even a little bit. So, okay, one of my favorite scenes. Carl walks up and says, Detective Linden and Mrs. Linden.
Mrs. Linden.
Oh, I died. I just wet my pants. And
then
Skinner says...
Skinner thought you could use some help.
And Sarah says, great, let us know when it gets here.
Carl stinks. You know,
so funny.
It's really funny.
But I like how quickly Sarah, is able to give it back to him.
Yeah, yeah.
And then she gets a call from Callie's mom about Callie's mom being arrested, so she leaves. And Carl goes to get coffee, and Holder sees this elderly man in a wheelchair, and he goes, "Yo, vintage playa, you got a smoke?" Oh my gosh.
Vintage player. I thought that was hilarious.
Vintage player.
So, you missed an important piece here.
Well, that's because all I care about is the dialogue.
The vintage player, right.
Because it's funny.
They also mentioned that Mills' cab is missing.
Mm.
That's what she finds when she also finds out that Callie's mom has been arrested. So that's really important. This guy has disappeared. His cab is nowhere to be found. Things are not looking good for Joe. Now, it's funny. Another thing you missed, because you were so anxious to get in there with the dialogue, was when he was talking to Sarah about her pushing Angie too hard, he mentions that she failed to ID Mills.
Yeah.
And he doesn't believe Mills did it.
Yeah, I did.
But Sarah is kind of pushing on this, like, no, I think we got our guy.
Yeah, I wrote Holder believes it's not Mills, but
so if she's pushing so hard, I mean, is she going to try to get her way, like try to get things, like is she going to be clouded in her judgment,
and
her critical thinking?
Make her say it was
Mills, right? Or is Holder not seeing what's going on here? So somebody's thinking skills are a little bit flawed.
Mm-hmm.
So interesting. We'll see what that is.
Yeah.
Okay. So Sarah is now talking to Callie's mom. Mm-hmm. So finally, she's there. She's able to talk to Sarah and tells her that Joe is gone.
Yeah, they haven't found him yet.
And important, Sarah confronts her about lying about Joe Mills. You know what? If it is Joe, you could have cost your daughter her life because you were lying about being with this guy, lying about him coming over, lying about the whole thing.
Yeah, because she says, we're sitting here because when I asked where Joe Mills was, you lied.
Yeah.
Great line. I think that might be why my notes are so short. Because I was just skipping to the great line.
You were. Now, this was interesting to me.
Okay.
Because in this scene, we have a different Callie's mom. If you look back the last few episodes, we kept talking about her being heinous. She doesn't care about Callie, and she really was acting that way. She has had a wake-up call.
Yeah.
At the beginning of this episode, when she came in and she was frantic, she's realized, oh my gosh, something is wrong.
I've really
here.
lost my daughter.
Right. And when that happens, when she's talking to Sarah at this point, I wrote down she's talking very motherly.
Yes.
She's talking about memories of Callie and of the two of them. And I mean, I think that she's fearing the worst, but we don't know. And we see the motherly side of her instead of that narcissistic side coming through. So I think this is just really interesting how they've taken this character that was very one-dimensional and very much of a bitch and made her, you sympathize and you go, yeah, your daughter's missing, but you did care. You were paying attention at one point. What has happened to this character? Mm-hmm. So I wanted to point that out because I thought that was really interesting. It was something that I wrote a lot of notes about because I thought it was so interesting.
And she tells Sarah about when Callie was little, and she said she runs off all the time, but she always comes back.
Yeah.
And then she says, "Find my little girl."
And another interesting thing happening here, Sarah, who in the last scene we saw her being really pushy, mm-hmm. she's not looking sympathetic.
Oh, no.
But she's just staring. Mm-hmm. She's just listening. And I'll tell you what I think was going on here. I think Sarah was in her zone, like she does when she looks at the pictures and you see her wheels turning. Mm-hmm. I think that, you could say, oh, she's just being cold to Callie's mom, but I don't think that's what was happening. I think she's processing what happened with Angie. Was that her name? The girl in the bed?
Yeah.
And what Callie's mom is saying at this point. I think mm-hmm. what we're seeing is Sarah processing this whole thing.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I think that's valid.
So, because the other side of it could be that she's just being cold to her.
Nah.
Because she really doesn't like her. She's really not happy about it.
And Sarah has that tendency.
Right. But I think in this case,
she's
more than that. It's that processing. It's that look she does, even though it's not doing the thing like typically in movies, like if somebody's thinking, like it gets they get that furrowed brow and it goes right in her. She doesn't really do that. She just kind of has a look mm-hmm. that you can tell the wheels are turning. Here, the impression I had, wheels are turning.
Yep. So I figured out now why my notes were only 4 pages long. Because I took a scene like this with Seward and Hill.
Oh, yeah.
And I put it down to 2 sentences because I didn't know how to begin to write this scene.
You know what?
So Seward is talking to Hill.
I'm going to help you unwind this one because I took some good notes on it.
He knows there's something bad coming, and then he hangs himself. Hill hangs himself.
That's what you wrote? Okay, let me describe the scene.
Yeah, because it's
night, it's dark, everything's quiet, and you hear this ripping sound. And I couldn't figure out what the ripping sound was. I thought, why is he somebody's tearing up the room? And Seward is awoken by this, and he starts talking to him like, you really shouldn't be doing this. You really need to think about it. And at this point, this is where I realized Hill is ripping the bed sheets to form a noose. He's going to kill himself. Mm-hmm. And the guards are not coming in. And he says something like, they come every so many minutes, I have time. And he says, now this is really interesting. Hill says to Seward, they'll come in if you call them. Seward was just trying to talk him out of it, but he doesn't call him. Mm-hmm. The reason he doesn't is he's letting Hill make the choice. Because, I mean, think about it. When we found out that it was Hill killed his parents and it was his brother and sister that came there, how do you reconcile that? Mm-hmm. And they're on death row. I think that Seward is like, if this is how you need to go out, I'm not going to be the one to stop you.
Yep.
So Seward doesn't say anything, obviously, and Hill, we don't get a really clear view, but we hear.
Oh yeah.
He hangs himself. And as he's hanging himself, and you kind of hear him choking, that this also was an interesting bit with Seward. I wrote he gently walks Hill through it. He's guiding him to the other side. That was really interesting because when you think about these guys, I keep saying interesting, but it is. This whole episode, we could call this episode Eminent Interesting. Interesting Domain?
Interesting Domain. Much better.
Okay. Interesting Eminent Domain. IED.
Oh my gosh. Just get on.
But,
I only have 4 pages of notes. We should have been done by now.
But when you think about these guys, it's like the fact that they're in there together, and you've got Nicholas Lay right next to him, who's like walking them through, like doing religious talk to them and trying to center them. you've got these 3 guys. It's like a community.
Mm-hmm.
But they're all going to die within 30 days.
Right.
And the fact
that... But
nobody
else would ever understand what they were going through.
Right,
so.
and that's why Seward doesn't call the guards. Mm-hmm. People might go like, oh, he's just being heartless or whatever. No.
Because he's going out on his own terms.
He's showing mercy to Hill by saying, I'm not going to have them come in and... If this is how you need to do this is how you need to do it. Mm-hmm. And then he gently walks him through it. That's really cool. Cool, I guess isn't the right word, but I don't want to say it's interesting again. I want to say that it was fascinating. Thank you. Okay. I got my thesaurus out.
So,
you avoided that one.
Henderson.
Yeah. Oh, and the reason was the guard was late again.
Yeah. Claimed he was late because the baby's teething. What
is up with this guy?
It's shady.
I get it. If the baby's teething and the baby's puking on him and stuff, but the way they're playing Henderson, there's something
shady
going
on there.
He's the real Slim Shady.
He's not slim.
He's the real large Shady.
Chunky
Shady.
So Adrian's foster parents are in Skinner's office.
Yeah.
And they're really...
Wait, you didn't say that's when Henderson finds that Hill is hung.
Well, okay, I figured that was assumed.
Yeah, but we didn't get in. He actually goes in there, he sees Seward, and Seward's just staring through the bars, and then he turns around and you see Hill hung. It's important that you get all that because later on when they're yelling at him about it, the sequence of events. Yes. Okay, so now we're with Skinner.
So Adrian's foster parents are in Skinner's office, and they're really irate because Sarah was talking to him.
Well, yeah, Sarah had gone to his school.
Yeah.
And the teacher saw and everything.
And they're seeing him regressing. He's sleeping in the closet again. Well, Sarah's sitting there, and she just gets up and leaves right in the middle of the meeting.
Yeah. And she just goes...
Because she's Sarah.
I'm sorry, I'll never do it again. Walks out.
It was so funny. I mean, not funny like I would be so pissed
funny,
if I were the foster parents, but I died. I'm like, that is so Sarah.
Yeah.
She just gets up.
Well, and once again, here's another scene where I was processing this and watching her face, and I shouldn't say I was processing, she was processing.
She did. She got a piece of information.
She had that same
because
look
they
that
said
she had.
Closet, and she got up and went, gotta go.
Yeah. The same thing she had with Callie's mom, where it was like something was clicking in there. And I like that as viewers, we're not really let in on
we're not privy
what it is. But if you know her look and you kind of know that, she does a wonderful job of letting that show without it being obvious. So here it was. Her getting up and walking out wasn't her being rude, even though it was horribly rude.
Right.
It was her. She got a piece of the puzzle.
So she gets in the car with Holder, and she pulls out the Seward file, and he says, oh, so when you say the file is in storage, you mean your back seat?
Right.
Oh, I loved it. And then
and she doesn't laugh or say
No,
anything.
but I do.
Yeah, it's so funny.
And then he tells her later, he says, don't get handsy, I've got a girlfriend. I almost died. He is so funny.
This one had a lot of good Holder lines.
But yeah, so she starts telling him, look, Adrian wasn't sleeping in his bed the night his mom was murdered. There's no closet in his room. And so they do what any rational cops would do.
Oh, right.
They break into their apartment, into the Seward apartment.
Yes. So this is really important that it was when she said he's regressing, he's sleeping in the closet again.
That's
all of a sudden,
what
it's like,
triggered her.
Wait a minute, he wasn't in his bedroom.
Right.
So she's got to get in there and see where he was.
Yeah.
Sounds to me like, when you think about them as detectives, her and Skinner were on the case on this thing. It sounds like they were a little sloppy on some of this stuff. Mm-hmm. And it might be like what we saw with the Rosie Larson case where forces were kind of pushing them along. Mm-hmm. Let's wrap this up. Let's get Seward. Let's do this thing. And I think she may have, and that might be why she reacted the way she did with Rosie, where it's like, I'm not letting bureaucracy push me along. So, I mean, they haven't revealed that, but I have a feeling that's kind of where we're going.
So, okay, here's another funny Holder.
Okay.
So they're in the Seward family apartment.
Yes.
And Holder's trying to see the case from the killer's perspective. He starts rambling about Copernicus and Galileo, and he looks over, and Sarah is just staring at him. And he looks over and he goes, "What's with the face, Lyndon? Don't stroke out on me. It's not covered on our health insurance."
Don't stroke out on me.
Oh my gosh, you've got to be kidding me.
It's so funny.
Oh. I mean, it's like you just can't. Who is he?
Who is this guy?
I love him so much.
He learned about Copernicus and Galileo in his dojo of knowledge.
Oh my gosh, I just love him so much. He's got to be one of my top 3 TV characters of all time.
He's got the best dialogue, and the way he delivers it and everything is just hilarious. He kills
me.
This episode, though, I mean, it was one after the other.
So funny. So no one's lived in that apartment since the murder.
And Sarah's walking him through the crime scene and points out that no one's lived there since the murder. It's all dusty and empty, and it's not good. And Holder says, when she says no one's lived here since the murder, he goes, "It's just like Mayor Richmond's waterfront, eminent domain."
Yeah.
And I had to have you look up eminent domain. If you'd like to describe
it. Well, we just wanted the actual legal definition.
I thought I knew what it was, but when he said it, I was like, I want to know what the definition is. So can you share the definition with me again?
Well, you didn't tell me I needed to keep it open.
Okay, well, it's basically, I know what it is. It's basically that the property can be seized. And in this case, there was a crime committed here. They seized the property, and no one else can take it over until the government decides to release it.
But they have to pay a fair price. They have to compensate the. So I don't understand how they do that in this case. It must go into a fund or something.
Yeah, I don't. Well,
or into a like it's got to go.
Maybe it probably goes to a trust for Adrian.
Maybe. I think we just totally made it up.
I know, we're just making it up.
I'm pretty sure we were not right.
You know what? We need Judge Wapner. He could help us out.
Because I suppose if it was part of a criminal investigation and the person who occupied the space didn't have... Okay, wait a second.
What?
Doesn't make any sense anyway. It's an apartment.
Yeah.
What are they taking, unless it's a condo, what are they taking over an apartment for?
I don't know.
Seward wouldn't have owned it.
Maybe they did. Maybe it was a condo. Maybe they owned it.
You know what? Maybe no one wants to live there since the murder.
So it's not eminent domain.
No, it's freaking Holder screwing with us again. Yes. Because he's just saying, just like Mayor Richmond's waterfront, eminent domain. But he could be completely off the mark.
Well, yeah, because he could be saying eminent domain in that case, even in the waterfront. It's not that something happened at the waterfront. It's that nobody wants anything to do with it after that whole incident. Nobody wants anything to do with this apartment after the murder. Maybe that's what it is.
No, because they're saying here that Mayor Richmond's actually completed the waterfront project, is what I'm understanding.
So confused. Now you know why we're not lawyers.
Right. Okay, we're going to just move on because that was a train wreck.
Wow.
So she found, the bottom line
You know what, I'm going to edit that so I sound really smart.
Oh my gosh, whatever.
Good luck.
There's no hope for me, so I don't really care. I'm not fronting here. Okay. I don't know anything about this. So she found, I want to go back to what actually happened that we can talk about, but she found Adrian in the closet after the murder, when she got to the apartment, that
she didn't
was
know
where
that he was
Adrian
staying in there.
was.
She just thought he was hiding there. She said that way back in the first season. She talked about him hiding in this closet.
So she went in there and looked, and there are stars on the ceiling because he slept there.
Yes.
And she realizes Adrian knows who did it.
Yes, because she gets down on the ground and she looks, and you can see under the door. You could see exactly who's coming and going from that apartment. So
crazy.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, actually, wasn't it a vent or something?
Maybe it was.
He could lay there. He was laying there.
I thought it was under the door, but
no, it was like a vent in the wall, and she laid down and looked out. And she said, "Oh my gosh, go stand over by the thing or whatever." And she could see his feet. She
could clearly see it.
She could see him, and Holder. She said, "Oh my gosh, he knows who did it."
Yeah.
So she tells Skinner, and she says, I need to speak to Adrian.
Right. They go back to the station, and she's talking to Skinner, and he doesn't care.
No.
He's just like, you know what? This is close. So he's just trying to brush this under the carpet. He doesn't want anything more to do with this. Seward's on death row. She doesn't have anything solid.
Well, and he speaks to Sarah privately after totally embarrassing Holder in front of everyone in the office.
Yeah, he starts yelling at Holder, just go find Mills. Stop messing around with this. Get out of here.
Really, really bad. And
Skinner's having a bad day.
And he says,
he's irritated.
This job is not for human beings.
Oh, right. This is when he's talking to her about how he thinks she's cracking up. Yeah. She has nothing to say either. You know?
Neither do I.
Right.
Apparently, so I'm just staring
he says that she has nothing and says she's following an obsession. Yeah. I mean, he's basically describing all the things we know has been true of her in the past, but I don't necessarily know if that's what's going on here.
And and she says it's the same killer, it's the same case.
Right.
And he tells her to just stay on Joe Mills.
Right. And she does say, I'm following the evidence. You know, this isn't just an obsession. I am just following the trail here. I'm following the evidence. And he just says, look, it's going to lead to Joe. That case is that case. Yeah. This case is going to lead to Joe. So we'll see if she listens to that. I have a feeling she's not, because we're only on episode 6.
Right. So Seward is talking to one of the guards.
Yes.
And the guard is asking Seward, why didn't you help him?
Right.
About Hills. And he says, I did. And then he says he wants a visitation.
Yes.
With Adrian.
Yes.
He wants to see his son.
Yes.
Oh, wait, no.
Yeah, no, it is.
Or was it he wanted to see Sarah?
No, I don't know. I just remember he wants a visitation.
Hang on.
I don't remember who it is that he wants to see.
Wasn't it that here, Sarah.
Oh, it's Sarah. He wants to talk to her.
Pause. Okay, rewind.
Well, no, I don't need to. So that makes sense that he wanted to talk to Sarah, because he's now, after seeing Hill kill himself, reality is sinking in fast.
He doesn't want to die. And he hung.
He chose hanging.
And that's what Seward is going to do.
Yes. Now he's seen it. Now he heard it. So when he was staring through the bars looking at Hill, he was looking in his own face.
His future.
Yeah, this is awful for him. So hopefully he will get in touch with Sarah. I'm sure there's going to be something at some point here.
Yeah.
Okay, so
now we get Bullet. I love Bullet.
Yeah, we haven't seen Bullet in a while. So
I love her. So Bullet's out walking, and Callie's mom stops her to ask if she's seen her.
Right. Well, she also calls her Trigger.
Well, you know what? She's not the most involved parent, so she's trying.
Trigger.
She's trying, like she's a horse.
Right.
She's trying.
Just hit your hoof on the ground once if you've seen Callie. No, that's twice. You said no, Trigger. Yeah. Okay. So she asks her to help.
She wants her to drive around with her to help her find Callie.
Can I ride around on your back and we'll look for Callie? See, that was one.
Well, are we the only ones who know that Trigger was a horse?
I doubt it.
Okay. I don't know what people get.
We're that old that we watched Roy Rogers. We just know what Roy Rogers is.
I didn't watch Roy Rogers.
No, I didn't either. But I know I ate at his restaurant.
Oh, that's whose horse it is?
Yeah, Roy Rogers and Trigger.
I just knew Trigger was a horse. I didn't know whose.
Seriously?
Well, it could have been the Lone Ranger's horse.
That's Silver.
Oh, yeah, Hi-Ho Silver.
See?
What about Mr. Ed? No, that would be Mr. Ed.
No, he's...
He wouldn't be Trigger. He'd be Mr. Ed.
I don't remember the name of the guy. His Wilbur. It's Wilbur's horse. Yeah. Mr. Ed is Wilbur's horse. Do you know Tonto's horse? I had the action figures when I was a kid.
Trigger.
No, Scout. No. Yep. See? I had the action figures.
Yeah, I don't know that.
And I had Tonto's nephew or something, which is very weird. I don't know what his name was, but I had it had the different characters, and then it had this smaller, Native American kid, and he was Tonto's nephew. Squanto.
Really?
No, I just made that up.
Oh.
You're like, oh, let's talk history with Squanto.
I don't want to, actually, because I don't want to. So Seward...
Because you know we'd get it right.
Oh,
just like everything else in the show.
I got nothing right so far. So Seward sees his dad.
Oh, well, yeah, no.
Oh, yeah, that's who he wanted to see.
No, it isn't.
Oh, my gosh, we are so wrong.
You are so wrong. Seward gets a visitor.
Oh, yeah.
And he thinks it's his requested visitor, and it's not. It's another prisoner. It's his dad. Yeah. So now we see his dad is in prison.
And he hasn't seen his dad since he left.
Right.
When he was a kid, and he looks at him and he says, "You look old." And he says, "We starved when you left." Yeah. And the guy has the freaking nerve to say, "I taught you how to be a man."
You know what? His dad is the worst.
He's really
First of all, we find out that his dad is the one that sent him the razor blade in the bar of soap. He's really confrontational with him. And he also, as he's being confrontational, like everything, it's just awful. He also tells him he's proud of him.
Well, and he
says, "I'm proud of you for keeping your mouth shut, dying like a man."
He says he actually said, "I'm proud of you for doing your sentence like a man." And Seward, the kid, now it sounds like Billy the kid. Now we're back on that. The young Seward says, "Dying in a jumpsuit doesn't make you a man. Unless you're Evel Knievel."
Oh.
Then it makes you a man.
Yeah, more 70s references. You know what? I had the Evel Knievel action figure, and it had the motorcycle. And you crank the thing.
The motorcycle.
Yep, and I also had the shop, the van that you could put them in. And I had Evel Knievel's son or cousin. I don't know what he was. The kid, yeah, Squanto. Squanto Knievel. Squeevel Knievel. Can't say it.
Dying in a jumpsuit doesn't make you a man.
No.
So this guy is really quite misguided, but the son, luckily, has slightly evolved.
Yeah, not followed in his footsteps exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's great to see a little family reunion in prison.
There you go. So Bullet and Callie's mom go to the water and they reminisce.
Right. This is the water from the very first episode of this season. When we first saw Callie looking over, we thought she was going to jump, and she wasn't going to jump.
No.
She did say, "I'm just looking at the water." You doubted her.
Whatevs.
If you go back and listen to that episode,
Whatevs.
I said she wasn't killing herself, and you said, "I think she was." No. So there they are looking out at the water. Obviously, this is like a touchstone place for them, and they talk about Callie. Mm-hmm. More reminiscing about Callie. Once again, saddie face here, because this is just, it's hard to watch. It reminds me of all the stuff with Rosie when they would reminisce, or you would see the family interacting, and you just feel really bad. Mm-hmm. This show does a good job of making you feel bad.
Yeah.
And here it is. I'm feeling bad. So Sarah now is Seward's visitor.
Yes.
So he gets to talk to her, and she asks him about Joe Mills.
Yep.
So she is hellbent that Joe Mills killed Seward's wife. And Seward has no idea what she's even talking about.
Nope.
Never heard the name, doesn't know what she's talking about. Couldn't it be random? Or couldn't she have had a relationship with Joe that he wasn't aware of at all? I mean,
he likes teenagers.
Who knows? Maybe that's when it started for him with the teenagers.
Yeah.
Maybe he killed her and then he went nuts and went ahead and started killing teenagers.
Well, she tells Seward, "Your son saw the killer." And Seward tells her, he's the one who put the stars on the ceiling.
Right, yeah, when she mentions the closet, he starts talking about how he put the stars on the ceiling.
And
so once again, here's a guy who we've seen him kind of rejecting, it's not that he's rejecting Adrian, it's that he's trying to distance himself. He's trying not to go to that painful place. And here he is. That's a very dad kind of thing. Like, as soon as you start talking about, she talks about the closet, he starts reminiscing about, hey, I put those stars on the ceiling. That's because that was a dad moment for him. No matter what else happened, he was a dad. He was in there. I don't know what their home life was like. Mm-hmm. Doesn't sound like it was really good.
It doesn't sound good. He was a bad guy, and he admits that he was a bad guy.
Right.
But he's not a killer. Here's a moment
where he's not. Correct.
And he's not a killer. But she says...
No, we don't know that yet. We don't know that.
I know, because he's not...
but we keep fluctuating here.
I can read people.
Oh, you can read people.
So she says, "I know you didn't kill your wife." And she needs a chance to talk to Adrian. And And he looks at her and he says, you came to this realization 3 years after the fact.
Oh, my God.
12 days before I hang, and then don't come back here.
Yeah.
He's done.
Yeah.
He's like,
you just get out.
Yeah.
Because is there enough time to save him?
No.
And even if... So what he's thinking is, there's not enough time, I'm going to die, then you're going to prove I'm innocent, and what good did that do for me, for Adrian, for anybody?
Well, it would help Adrian.
No, it wouldn't.
To know that your father didn't kill your mother, I think that's...
But his father is gone.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. At least he knows he didn't do it.
Right. At least he knows he didn't do it, but he also has lost his father because of her error.
Right.
So it's a bad situation.
Bad scene.
Okay.
So Bullet goes to see Lyric.
Yes.
And Twitch was not being a good guy.
Yeah.
So Bullet goes to see Lyric. Twitch was clearly mean to Lyric, and she was not in a good place.
Right. She's all sad that Twitch isn't there.
And she says, Lyric says to Bullet, you want to keep me warm?
Yes.
And Bullet tells Lyric about seeing Callie's mom, and they kind of go over their day. And Lyric says, do you think Callie is coming back? And then they have this moment, because Lyric says... You think I don't see you, but I do. And then Lyric kisses her.
Right. Lyric kisses her. And I actually wrote here that was actually very sweet.
It was a very sweet scene. So I thought that was very, very sweet.
Yeah, I thought it was sweet.
You know, there is nothing better than seeing someone who has a crush on someone get that person. Like, it's just, there's something really... touching about that. There's something exciting. You know, it's very sweet. Bullet needed somebody to be nice to her.
Yeah, she did. So I mean, this was very nice, and it wasn't. It could have been a very weird scene, but it wasn't at all.
No, I thought it was very sweet.
Yeah, very sweet. Okay, so Holder is staring at the wall of victims' pictures, and he's having a hard time with
processing.
This. Yeah, he's processing. And we've seen him do this before, too, but unlike Sarah seems to, like, pop the puzzle pieces in when she's doing that. He's getting more frustrated here, and he just kind of questions, are they ever going to get this killer? Mm-hmm. She doesn't say stuff like that. She calculates. And I'm not saying he's not as good. He's different than her. He's looking at this, and he's not seeing the threads yet, and he just is starting to get frustrated and asks, is this going to be it? Mm-hmm. And Sarah says... This was really good. She goes, he's their shepherd. Mm-hmm. They're his flock. Okay. They don't say it here. Yeah. But I circled it. Pastor Mike.
Yeah, I wrote, they went to, the pastor. Is he
and I think that's the look that Holder gave at that moment was him thinking, you're thinking it's Pastor Mike.
Right.
So,
or you're describing him, whether she had that intention or not.
So I think we've got a Pastor Mike episode coming up here real soon.
But
here we've got Joe. We've got some really interesting subjects here, or suspects.
Much better suspects than in season 1 and 2. I think
we've got Mike, Pastor Mike. We've got you and I think that the guard may be suspicious.
Henderson.
And then we've got Joe.
Yeah.
And those are all that we know at this point. Yeah. But I would not, if it turned out to be Pastor Mike, I wouldn't be surprised. I think they've laid enough groundwork. And right now, it's kind of like, ooh, wait a minute. It might really lead there. And Joe, definitely suspicious.
Yeah.
And we know he's guilty. We just don't know if he's guilty of murder.
So Skinner's mad because Angie left the hospital.
Okay. Carl had one job at this point.
Yes.
He's no longer on the case. Your job is to watch Angie. And Angie leaves.
Failed. And they don't know where their witness went. Carl lost her.
Right.
So
and he's like yelling at him, you got to find her tonight.
Right.
This is it. You don't get a second chance. You're going to find her tonight.
Right. So they go to Beacon Home.
Yes.
To follow up on their shepherd.
Holder and Linden. Yeah. And of course, Pastor Mike, not there. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, we're not going to get our resolution here, and why is he not there? He's always there.
Well, especially at night when the kids are all staying there.
Right, and he's not there. And Holder, you can tell, is definitely leaning towards Mike at this point. Sarah's thinking Joe, but there's a question about Mike.
I don't know. Is she really pushing for Joe?
Well, she was earlier in the episode. And at this point, she still might be, but she's definitely going to explore this Mike thing. But Holder is buying into Mike. Mm-hmm. Okay, we're at the fast part.
Callie's mom went to go lock her door, and then she decided to leave it unlocked in case Callie came home. That was very touching, but also frightening because...
Yeah, because there's a killer.
Well, and not just that.
A killer or somebody who took her daughter, whether it's a killer or not.
Right.
If it's a killer, what would stop them from coming and killing her at this point?
And you're alone, and I couldn't do it.
I can't imagine it's a really nice neighborhood.
I'm pretty sure Callie could just knock on the door if she showed up.
Yeah.
I would just come and unlock.
A little scary, but... And then... Once again, now this is great. They're in there. Mike's not there. This is the last thing we see. Holder is standing there staring at the wall of pictures in Mike's office. And you can tell by his face that he's thinking about those pictures back at the station of the victims. Because I'm telling you, that's all I could think of when he's looking at those pictures and they're showing him like, oh, it's the victims. Who are these people? Do we know? Are those people that are going there now? Do we see like Bullet and Lyric? No, we don't recognize these pictures. So is that his hunting? Are those his trophies? What the hell? So scary. So is that it?
I think so.
Oh, man.
We got to keep going. I got to know what's going on.
I got to know.
I need some resolution.
You know what?
I love this freaking season. This is some of the best television I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's outstanding. Okay, let's finish this one up so we can get on to the next one. You can find past episodes of this and all of our podcasts on our website, www.southgatemediagroup.com. You can follow this show on Twitter at The Killing Pod. You can also follow me at R. Southgate and Martha at
SMG Pods.
You can find us on Tumblr. Just look for Southgate Media Group. We do post things about the killing there and reblog a bunch of things. If you're somebody who blogs about the killing there, follow us. We'll follow you back. And we'll reblog your stuff. So definitely jump on with us there. And do us a favor when we tweet out about shows. Retweet it. Share it with your followers so that we get a little bit more exposure that way, too. Let's bring people to the show. Show Netflix that there's so much interest in the killing. Find us on iTunes. Find us on Stitcher. Find us on TuneIn Radio. Give us reviews. Rate us. It helps. It also will help other people find us by doing that as well. I think that's it.
I think so.
Let's wrap up. Oh, and we also have a Pinterest page. Go to Southgate Media Group or just look up the board for the Killing Podcast. Okay, that's it. Until next time, which is moments away. Oh, I can't wait to get to it. I'm Rob Southgate.
I'm Martha Southgate.
Maybe next time we'll find out what happened to Callie. If you would like to donate to help pay for this and other Southgate Media Group podcasts, simply go to our website, southgatemediagroup.com, and click on the donate button. It can be as little as $1 or, well, as much as you want. Help keep this fun going by supporting this and our other shows. Thanks again for listening, everyone. You're the best fans in the world.